You were never taught this, and that's why it hurts when you finally hear it. Not because it's cruel, but because it's accurate. Most men don't fail because they lack strength. They fail because they ignore the very forces that were meant to shape them. And many of those forces arrive in the form of women they misunderstood, dismissed, avoided, or never truly saw. This isn't a video about romance. It isn't about dating advice or attraction tricks. This is about something far more uncomfortable. This is about the silent psychological debt you accumulate when you ignore certain women who cross your path. Not because they are special, but because they represent truths about you that you were not ready to face. I want you to listen to this as if I'm sitting across from you. Not judging, not accusing, just pointing to patterns you've already lived through but never named. Because once you name them, they stop controlling you from the shadows. Every man remembers at least one woman he never really understood. Not because she was complicated, but because she disrupted his internal order. She didn't fit neatly into his desires or his plans, and instead of learning from that disruption, he labeled her a problem and moved on. That's the first cost. When you turn away from discomfort instead of decoding it, you don't escape it. You postpone it, and it returns later in a more expensive form. Machiavelli warned rulers that what they refuse to confront early will overthrow them later, not through force but through decay. Nietzsche said something similar in a different language. What you do not integrate becomes your fate. Buddha approached it quietly. He said, "Suffering is born not from pain, but from resistance to truth." And most men resist truth when it arrives wrapped in a mirror they didn't ask for. The women we're about to talk about are not villains. They are not saints. They are archetypes, psychological mirrors. Each one reveals a part of you. Ignoring them doesn't make you independent, it makes you incomplete. The first woman most men ignore is not the loud one, not the dramatic one. She's the quiet disturbance, the one who sees through you. She doesn't attack you. She doesn't insult you. She simply notices what you're pretending not to see. The inconsistency. The story you tell yourself about who you are versus how you actually live. Men often say they dislike her because she's too intense or too serious. But that's not it. What they really mean is she collapses their illusion of control. Carl Jung would say she activates the shadow. The parts of you you've outsourced to excuses. The laziness disguised as patience. The fear disguised as caution. Ignoring her feels like relief at first. You return to comfort, to validation, to women who don't ask anything of you. But the cost is subtle. You remain unchallenged, and unchallenged men stagnate. Nietzsche warned about this. He said comfort is the enemy of becoming. The man who avoids confrontation with truth trades growth for approval. And approval is a cheap currency with a short shelf life. Zen teaches that the teacher often appears as irritation. If someone consistently unsettles you, it's rarely because they're wrong. It's because they're accurate before you're ready. The second woman men ignore is the one who requires structure. She doesn't want promises. She wants patterns. She doesn't respond to charm. She responds to consistency. She isn't impressed by intensity. She watches repetition. Men who live on bursts of motivation feel exposed around her. Because she doesn't reward potential, she rewards discipline. Machiavelli would respect her. She understands order. She understands that power is not a moment, it's a system. And systems reveal character faster than words ever could. Ignoring her feels like freedom. No expectations, no standards, no accountability. But the cost is brutal. Without structure, your life becomes reactive. You chase urgency instead of building direction. Buddha spoke of right effort, not excessive striving, not laziness, but disciplined alignment. Men who avoid structure mistake chaos for freedom and call it spirituality. Years later, they wonder why nothing holds, why relationships collapse, why ambitions dissolve, why everything feels temporary. The third woman is the one who walks away without drama. No speeches, no ultimatums, no begging. She simply exits when the pattern becomes clear. Men often rewrite her story. They say she was cold, detached, unemotional. But what she really was is self-contained. Nietzsche would call her a boundary incarnate, a living consequence. She teaches that access is not guaranteed. Ignoring her lesson is costly, because men who never learn from the woman who walks away spend their lives assuming second chances are infinite. They aren't. Machiavelli observed that power respects limits. Those who never enforce boundaries invite disrespect without realizing it. Buddha would say attachment is revealed when something leaves and you demand it return. But dignity is revealed when you let it go without grasping. The fourth woman men ignore is the one who doesn't need them. She doesn't orbit your approval. She doesn't collapse when you withdraw. She doesn't chase reassurance. Men often say they want independence in a woman, but when they meet it, it unsettles them, because she removes a hidden source of validation. Jung would say she represents individuation. A complete psyche does not need to merge to survive. It chooses connection, not dependence. Ignoring her keeps a man addicted to being needed instead of becoming worthy. Machiavelli warned leaders not to confuse loyalty with dependency. Dependency breeds resentment on both sides. Men who avoid this woman stay emotionally immature. They confuse control with intimacy and mistake attachment for love. Zen teaches that true connection arises when two complete forms meet, not when one tries to consume the other to feel whole. The fifth woman is the most uncomfortable of all. She exposes your emotional weakness. She triggers jealousy you didn't know you had, insecurity you thought you outgrew, anger you thought was strength. Men often label her toxic, but she didn't create the weakness, she revealed it. Jung would say she pulls the shadow into the light, not to shame you, but to integrate you. Ignoring her lesson doesn't make you calm, it makes you fragile, because whatever you refuse to examine internally will be activated externally. Nietzsche warned that unexamined weakness becomes morality. Men turn their fear into judgment instead of mastery. Buddha taught that reaction reveals attachment. If something controls your emotional state, you are not free from it. The sixth woman has not fully appeared yet. She represents the future. She asks questions about time horizons, about children, about values, about the kind of man you become when no one is watching. Men often say she's too serious, but what they mean is she forces them to think beyond pleasure, ignoring her costs legacy. Machiavelli understood dynasties, not moments. Men who think only in terms of now build nothing that lasts. Zen monks plant trees whose shade they will never sit under. That is power without ego. Buddha spoke of right view, seeing consequences before they arrive. Men who ignore this woman live loud lives that end quietly. Busy years, empty decades. At this point, something uncomfortable should be settling in. Not guilt, recognition. You've seen at least one of these women, maybe more, maybe all six, and you didn't fail because you lost them. You failed because you didn't listen to what they were teaching you about yourself. Ignoring these women doesn't make you independent, it delays your initiation. And here's the part no one tells you. These women don't disappear, they return in different forms. As bosses, as failures, as repeated patterns, as internal conflict, as regret. Jung said what you resist persists. Nietzsche said what you avoid will dominate you. Buddha said suffering continues until insight arises. The cost is not loneliness, the cost is repetition. And repetition without awareness is the definition of a wasted life. In the next half of this episode, we go deeper. We examine why men ignore these archetypes in the first place, the ego traps, the survival strategies, the unconscious bargains, and most importantly, how to integrate these lessons without chasing the past or resenting yourself. Because the goal is not regret, the goal is clarity, and clarity is where power begins. By now you may be feeling a strange mix of calm and unease. Calm because something finally makes sense. Unease because you're realizing how much of your life has been shaped by what you avoided, rather than what you chose. Most men believe they are acting freely, but Machiavelli would disagree. He believed most people are governed by unseen forces, fear of loss, hunger for approval, terror of isolation. Freedom, to him, was not doing what you want. It was seeing clearly what moves you, and one of the strongest forces shaping a man's psychology is not desire. It is avoidance. Men don't ignore these women because they are irrelevant. They ignore them because each one threatens a specific illusion the man is still clinging to. The woman who sees through you threatens the illusion that you are already enough without change. She reveals the gap between intention and execution. And ego hates gaps. Ego prefers stories. So the mind creates distance, labels her as negative or too serious. This isn't discernment, it's defense. Jung warned that when the ego feels exposed, it doesn't ask questions. It builds walls, and walls feel safe until they become prisons. The woman who requires structure threatens another illusion, the illusion that potential is the same as progress, that motivation is the same as mastery. Nietzsche despised this illusion. He believed potential without discipline was a form of self-deception, a way to feel superior without earning it. Men who ignore structure often tell themselves they are waiting for the right moment. But the truth is harsher. They are avoiding the daily humiliation of consistency. Buddha taught that effort without attachment is the path. But men twist this teaching. They drop the effort and call it detachment. They drop responsibility and call it peace. The woman who walks away threatens the illusion of endless forgiveness. She breaks the fantasy that time will always reset the consequences. Her silence is not cruelty, it is clarity. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote that mercy without limits becomes weakness. Boundaries are not punishments. They are signals. Men who never learn from the woman who leaves become shocked later when life leaves them. Jobs disappear, health declines, opportunities close. And they ask why no one warned them. They were warned. They just didn't listen. The woman who doesn't need you threatens one of the most dangerous illusions of all. The illusion that your worth comes from being required. Many men grow up learning that usefulness equals value. Be needed. Be relied upon. Be indispensable. But Jung would say this creates a false self, a persona built around service rather than essence. Men who ignore this woman often become controlling without realizing it. They confuse closeness with dependence. They feel empty when they are not central to someone else's survival. Zen teaches that attachment masquerades as care. True connection does not grip. It allows. The woman who exposes your emotional weakness threatens the illusion of emotional control. Men often pride themselves on being calm, rational, logical. But the first time jealousy, rage, or insecurity surfaces, they realize how thin that control actually was. Ignoring this woman does not make you stoic. It makes you volatile under pressure. Nietzsche warned that what is denied does not disappear. It goes underground. And what goes underground eventually erupts. Buddha would say reaction is the clearest sign of bondage. If something can pull you out of yourself, you are not master of yourself. This woman is not there to humiliate you. She is there to show you where training is still required. And then there is the woman of the future, the one men postpone thinking about. She asks questions that feel premature when pleasure is abundant. Questions about time, about responsibility, about who you become when no one is watching. Men who ignore her often believe they are choosing freedom. But what they are really choosing is short-term relief. Machiavelli believed rulers should think in generations, not seasons. Power that does not plan becomes chaos, dressed as spontaneity. Zen masters say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Men who ignore the future woman wait until the ground is barren and wonder why nothing grows. At this point, something important needs to be said. These women are not prizes. They are not tests you failed or passed. They are signals. Life sends the lesson in human form because humans are harder to ignore than ideas. When you ignore the lesson, life sends it again. Louder, sharper, more expensive. This is not punishment. This is instruction. Jung believed the psyche moves toward wholeness whether you cooperate or not. Cooperation is growth. Resistance is suffering. So what do you do with this now? Not chase the past. Not apologize to ghosts. Not reopen closed doors. That would be ego trying to reverse time instead of integrate wisdom. Machiavelli would call that weakness. Nietzsche would call it resentment. Buddha would call it attachment. The correct response is internal reorganization. You don't need these women back. You need the qualities they were pointing to integrated into you. Self-honesty, structure, respect for consequence, emotional regulation, independence, long-term vision. When these qualities become internal, the external mirrors change automatically. You stop attracting chaos. You stop repeating patterns. You stop mistaking intensity for meaning. Zen says when the student is ready, the teacher disappears. Not because the lesson is gone, but because it has been absorbed. And here is the most important truth of all. Ignoring these women didn't make you bad. It made you unfinished. Every man has a phase where he must fail to listen in order to eventually hear. The danger is not the failure. The danger is repeating it while calling it fate. Nietzsche believed life should be lived as if you would repeat it eternally. Ask yourself honestly, would you choose this pattern again? If not, the work begins now. Not with guilt, with precision. You don't need to become colder. You need to become clearer. You don't need to dominate. You need to discern. You don't need to withdraw from women or the world. You need to stop outsourcing your development to comfort. Buddha said liberation comes not from adding but from seeing. Seeing breaks the chain. If you see these archetypes now, truly see them, they no longer control you. They become internal teachers rather than external wounds. And something subtle but profound will change. You will start choosing differently without effort. You will recognize patterns earlier. You will feel less reactive, less rushed, less desperate. This is not maturity as an image. This is maturity as alignment. Machiavelli would say this is the point where a man stops being ruled by circumstance and begins ruling himself. Nietzsche would say this is where the man becomes who he is. Zen would say nothing special happened. You simply stopped lying to yourself. And that is the real hidden cost you've been paying all along. Not the women you ignored, but the man you postponed becoming. If this episode felt uncomfortably accurate, that's a sign. Not that you are broken, but that you are waking up. And waking up always feels like loss before it feels like freedom. Sit with it. Do not rush to conclusions. Do not turn this into performance or identity. Just notice what shifted. Because the moment you stop ignoring these lessons, life stops needing to shout them at you. And that is where quiet power begins.